Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi, and of course here on Today in the News we tell you of all the happenings around the world, also in Nigeria. I will be starting off with the front pages of the papers this morning. Starting off with Vanguard. On Vanguard we have the main headline, federal government Labour adamant as court stops strike. The writer says that Labour insists federal government must reverse hike in petrol price, electricity tariff. Time for the revelations now. Federal government says Waba asks private sector union to shut down. Nigeria belongs to few politicians, says a TUC boss. And on COVID-19 update, we have COVID-19. Lagos records 37 new infections as confirmed cases rise to 57,849. You can see that story on page 35. Also, there's a photo story of gas explosion at IZE-IYAMU Road by Celebo Stop in Ifakoija, a local government area of Lagos yesterday. It was a very sad one. On page 10, Ekiti, APC suspends Ojudu, Tinubu's in-law, 9 others. And on page 9, political violence, Akeredolu, Ajayi, Jegede, others to sign peace accord on Tuesday, says INEC chairman. And on page 7, Mago, why I can't appear before Justice Salami panel. That's what Malami is saying. You can read that one on 7. And on page 8, federal government 145 billion naira September bonds oversubscribed, says DMO. Still on page 8, CAMA'll will aid our fight against corruption, says Buhari. Still on page 8, 60th anniversary, while we are celebrating in spite of odd, Lai Mohammed. And on page 31, on Nigerians to be affected as US moves to ban 4-year student visa for some countries. And away from Vanguard newspaper, we move straight to This Day newspaper. And on This Day newspaper, we have main headline, Labour's proposed strike in abeyance as parley with federal government ends in deadlock. Parties hold on to positions adjourned till Monday. Court restrains union from industrial action. Also, Akeredolu, Jegede, Ajayi, others scramble for 478,460 Ondo voters. Candidates sign peace accord October 6th. And away from This Day news, we will move straight to the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch newspaper, we have Labour Sean ruling stopping strike. Talks with federal government deadlocks. National Industrial Court rules on anti-strike suit filed by a group. We don't know them. They are not our employer, says Waba. And stories above on the Punch newspaper. Finance Minister orders Sean budget performance sitting. Panel kicks. You can see that story on page 19. And on page 19, we still have a Nigerian collecting illegal $36,000 per month from ship owners, says Mechi. And stories beneath, we have a stray bullet kills 2 as Ogun land grabbers police clash. You can see that story on page 4 and 5. And still on page 5, we have flooding. Dread deslete River Niger. Razak tells federal government. And away from the Punch newspaper, we move straight to the Nation. And on the Nation newspaper, we have main headlines: stalemate in government, Labour talks of petrol power price. The writer says parties hold on to positions. NLC, TUC, others rally for action. A court stops strike. Also, CAMA'll enacted to strengthen anti-graft war, says Buhari. Malami turns down Salami panel invitation. Mag protest absence. Also on page 25, we have Ekiti, APC suspends Buhari's aide Ojudu, 10 others. On page 28, we have no evidence Kwara Council funds were diverted. And there's also a photo story of 30 injured, houses, vehicles destroyed in Lagos gas explosion. You can see that on page 6. And that's all we have for you, or I have for you on the front pages of the papers. We're moving on to the newspaper analysis segment where we will be joined by our guests in the studio. But before then, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen as we'll be going on a short break. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back. And if you're just still joining, it's still today in the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi, and I'm joined in here by my guest in the studio. His name is Bankole Ido, and he's a public commentator. Good morning, it's good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, many thanks. Glad to be here too.
Alright, so let's talk about some of the issues that's been, of course, in the minds of a lot of Nigerians now, and federal government and Labour have been having their back and forth, and the court has restrained the Labour union from embarking on strike, and Labour is still insisting that government must reverse the increment to stave off strike. What are your thoughts on this back and forth with federal government and Labour?
Well, to begin with, I think the federal government, in its wisdom, hasn't done very well. It is clear, it is out there that Nigerians are still, reveling in the harsh realities of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then slamming them with all the hikes and all of that. I think it is not a good thing. It is not a fair thing to do. Then going to Labour, strike to me seemed to be the last alternative, or the last option rather, when you are trying to press home a particular demand. Well, I think the strike might just be the last thing to resort to, by the labor, considering the fact that all talks concerning reversing the hike and all of that has failed in the past few weeks, and I think going on strike really is the last thing to look for. But then court stopping the strike really is amazing. Well, I do not know where the judgment is coming from. I have not read the details of that judgment, but then I think also that whoever got the court judgment, to stop the strike is not really does not mean well for Nigerians, really, because I think what the labor is asking for is something that has to do with the daily lives of Nigerians.
All right, the secretary to the government of the federation, that's Boss Mustafa, has justified the deregulation of the downstream sector, and he's saying that it's been long overdue. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think to an extent, right, the regulation is actually the way to go, but then the timing is what I am particular about. You don't just deregulate where people are still, struggling to meet their daily livings. People are having issues with basic needs of life and all of that, and then you are trying to deregulate. Who suffers the most? A lot of people lost their jobs, in the past few months, and then of course, that the downtrodden, the masses would definitely be worst hit if you eventually deregulate at this time, where people are just coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic harsh reality. It is really not the best of time, to deregulate the downstream sector.
Okay, now you mentioned the downtrodden, and this is not the best time.
Yeah.
Now, some of the citizens of the country has basically said that Nigeria belongs to few politicians that take decisions and they make policies that are hard for the masses. So you said, the deregulation obviously affects the downtrodden. Do you agree with this statement that some people are saying?
Well, I want to agree, really, because of course politicians are less than 5% of our population, and of course they are, the one in top places making decisions that affect the masses and all of that. But then also, you look at it from this angle: who elected these guys there? You and I elected them there. So if we are really complaining about it, then I think it is an unfair thing to do, to start saying that the choices we made, are not really good now. You get? So what were we looking at in the first place before making such choices, right? So of course 2023 is another year of election. If we think these few people that are representing us, at the top are not doing well, of course we need to have a rethink, when we are presented with another opportunity of choosing who represents us, top there.
So are you saying we deserve the kind of government that is ruling us right now?
Well, I've not said that. What I'm just saying is that, we chose the people that are there now. Maybe next time we should make a very, very good decision, as to who governs us, so that we can get the best of things, from our leaders.
Okay, let's look at what CAMA'll is saying, that, the law that was signed, and then, the president has said that that's the Company and Allied Matters Act will aid the federal government, fight against corruption. Now, do you think that this law would change the perception regarding Nigeria's commitment to fight corruption?
Well, I don't think it is going to change any perception. The perception has been built, over time as a result of so many things that has happened. You look at, the issue of corruption in Nigeria, and it is not really funny at all. If the corruption Caesar, himself is really enmeshed in issues of corruption and all of that, then I think people out there will see us as a country that is not serious when it comes to fighting corruption. So if you say now that the CAMA'll, is a tool to fighting corruption, then it is really laughable. First, CAMA'll has a lot of inconsistencies, that really would affect, other stakeholders, other stakeholders that directly or would directly benefit from that law. Now, who are these stakeholders? Majorly, they are religious bodies, right? And if you look at Nigeria as a secular state, you have a lot of people that either goes to church, either go to church or mosques and practice other religion, right? But then this law directly affects, let's just say, the Christian and of course Muslims too, right? But then, saying you are trying to fight corruption and all of that, are you now saying that the religious leaders or the religious body are corrupt? And that is why we are having issues with these laws. That is why you see CAN and other religious bodies, kicking against this law. I think it is wrong for the government to say that, CAMA'll and whatever, is a step or a tool to fighting corruption. It is really laughable. No one is going to take such statements serious.
But don't you think that the corruption in the country has been long overdue, and that's the reason why the president is finding ways on how he can
There are other ways of fighting corruption. You cannot tell me that CAMA is one way. There are so many other ways fighting corruption. Of course, if you look at the oil sector, there are so many other sectors that we are having issues of corruption. People have been saying that the salaries of politicians and political office holders should be looked into. What has the government done about that? Nothing, right? We've had cases of the recent case of NDDC. You heard what happened, where billions of nairas were paid to the account of an individual. Till now nothing has been done about that. Let us start from there before coming to CAMA'll. And I think that is the way to go.
So you think that this CAMA'll Act would definitely drive out investors? And
well, I don't think so. I don't think it will drive out serious investors, because that Nigeria has the market, we have the population, we have of course the market is there, so serious investors of course would wait. But I think that the major issue with the CAMA'll is the fact that federal government failed to carry along major stakeholders, and that is why we are having this issue. If you are trying to implement a policy as very, very crucial as CAMA'll, you have to carry along stakeholders. You need to inform the people. There should be a public debate on this. All of this were not done, and that's why this issue keeps springing up and then causing a lot of confusion in the politics.
Okay, so let's move straight to the Edo elections, and Obaseki won, and there've been a whole lot of jubilation process. But then it's still one for the winning side, and that side for the opposition too. And Pastor IZE-IYAMU has debunked claims that he's under pressure from party leaders to accept defeat, and that he has not made his mind on the next step to take. In the context of next step to take, what exactly do you think would be the next step for him to take?
Well, I do not understand what other step the candidate of the APC in the just concluded Edo State gubernatorial election, Pastor IZE-IYAMU, do not understand what step he is talking about. But then I think he might at the moment because consulting widely, with the party chieftains, his party and all of that. But do not forget also that I think shortly after the electoral victory of Obaseki, APC had congratulated Obaseki. The President Muhammad Buhari, also did congratulated Obaseki. So I do not know what step he should be thinking. But I think Edo State is a very good state, a peaceful state, and I think Pastor IZE-IYAMU should understand that as well. And of course, in the interest of the state, whatever step he is thinking or planning to take should be something that will further, help the state move forward, on the path of growth and other development, and of course, keying into the vision of Obaseki. Right, so it shouldn't be a step of trying to go to court and all that. For God's sake, we need to learn, how to accept defeat in good faith, and of course move forward. Right? Well, I do not want to preempt or presume what step he wants to take, but let's wait and see. But if I want to really say, if you go by what we've seen in the past, where politicians go all the way to Supreme Court and all of that, it is very glaring that the election was free and fair, peaceful. Of course, I observed the election and reported the electoral issues there and all of that. So, from what we got, I discovered that the election was peaceful, it was free and fair. Of course, there are one or two other glitches there, but I think INEC would improve on that. So, whatever step he is looking at taking should be something that would further, help the state move forward.
Okay, so let's move over to US saying they want to input 4 years visa ban for international students, and the United States is seeking new guidelines on that would restrict some international students, including those from Nigeria, from admission of more than 2 years period. How do you think this would affect the Nigerians in diaspora?
It is really, really funny, sincerely. Well, I think US visa ban, it's really a shame that Nigeria, that prided itself as the giant of Africa, is being listed as one of those countries that are being banned by the US and all of that. It is really, really not good. But also, I think the US too will suffer for it. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is the fact that over time, we've had Nigerian students that have contributed, immensely to the development of science and technology in the US. Not just science and technology, of course. They have contributed immensely to sports development in the US. Today, if you look at the best sportsmen and women in the US are black people whose origin can be traced down to Nigeria. So if US feel that because of some few unscrupulous elements, that are giving Nigeria a bad name, you just want to snap visa ban on some very good and intellectual people, coming from Nigeria, then I think Donald Trump needs to rethink. But lately, he has a lot to deal with, really, other than seeking to place a ban on Nigeria. He still has, of course, his election coming up in few months' time to deal with, and of course, the information we are getting on ground really does not favor him, right? So I think he has a lot to deal with, rather than looking at placing a ban on some hard-working Nigerians that are going there merely, to improve their lives.
Saying, I'm talking about the whole ban, and rather than placing now, the Department of Homeland Security, that's the DHS, has said that the 2 years limit is based on factors that they identify as national security and public safety concern. Do you think our security challenge has played a role on this whole ban thing affecting Nigeria?
Yeah, I think so, to a very large extent, and it is not just the US visa thing. I could recall vividly that in the outset of all of this, bombings and insecurity issue, the Arsenal Football Club was supposed to have a pre-season in Nigeria, and because of the terrorist attack and reports in Nigeria, they had to cancel that. So you know what that means for the economy of Nigeria. So it is not just our students going abroad and then the image it is creating for Nigerians, and of course Nigerians in the diaspora, but of course it is also affecting our economy. If someone wants to come and invest in Nigeria, the first thing that comes to mind is the issue of insecurity. Like, okay, how do we deal with the issue of insecurity and all of that, right? So it is really, really a sad thing, and I feel that the government of President Muhammad Buhari is doing enough. The service chiefs, they are trying their best, but then it is really not easy down there. I have a friend that lost his uncle in the fight against Boko Haram in the northeast, and he told me how gallantly the Nigerian army has been doing down there. But then of course it is not easy. What these terrorists are using now, is what they call guerrilla tactics. Our military, professional men and women. But then I also think that enough needs to be done to ensure that we tackle the issue of insecurity head on, so that we can have a favorable rating out there in the international community.
All right, thank you so much, Bankole, the
Yeah.
public commentator. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Right.
And of course, you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen, as well as you want to find out what's happening, what's going on in the world and in Nigeria. You can go straight to our website www.vanguardngr.com to find out more on our top stories. Till I come your way next time, of course, I remain Precious Tripodi, and have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching.